Hey everybody, it's Mark with DYI Bees, and it is October 15th, 2022. I am making, or let's just say rehabbing some quilt boards for the beehives, and just kind of want to show y'all what I do. These are ones that I had a couple years ago. I left them out up at the bee yard. In a shed. Mice got into them and tore and ate everything up. So I'm trying to fool with this, trying to figure out how to do it. There's the old burlap. The nice thing about it is I'm going to be able to reuse this or use it as smoker fuel. So it's not all a waste. These were kind of a mess because I was working with old stuff, but I've kind of got a little system down. Just want to show you. So this is a shim that I got. So I went to the fabric shop and got some burlap, and this burlap came folded, and the nice thing about it is because it makes about one box here. So I don't know how I'm going to hold the camera and do some crafts, but we're going to figure this out, so just be patient with me. But the nice thing about it, this thing's got a finished edge here, which we'll be able to put right there. And I've got some screen mold. I went to the Lowe's, and I'm going to nail that up in there like that. And I've got a little air trim gun, so it's going to kind of look like that. But just want to show y'all what I do. This is a shim that I use for feeding. I'm just going to recycle this. I will eventually drill some holes into them and fix it. So the cost on this stuff, this stuff was $3.99 a yard, and I think I'm using 20 inches here, so I'm going to get 2 out of here. This stuff was, I don't know, $6. But I imagine you could take some wood, cut them down to thin shims, but I just didn't have the time and wanted to do that. So this is how I make a quilt board. So what I did is I took my little staple gun. I bought an electric one. Electric one is not enough to go here, so I just used my little one. I used 3/4 inch staples, and so I use that finished edge right there, and I'm trying to keep it below the edge. Cutting burlap is kind of a pain. So I'm going to flip it over, put one up in there, tighten it up, then do the 2 sides and trim it. So I have the excess down here, and there's excess on one side. I figured it's a lot easier to cut 2 sides than one. So this piece is going to go right in here. It's unfortunately, I didn't make this as straight as I'd like it to be. It's going to tighten up some, but it's not going to be perfect. But we're not covering furniture here, folks. We're putting shavings in here to keep the bees dry. So be close. This stuff is going to have some flex to it. It's going to go move back and forth, but if you take your time, you'll get pretty close. So this is the last side, and like I said, it's just a simple, one-handed. And that's it. So overall, it's pretty simple, and then all I'll do is I'll either take a pair of scissors or probably a straight edge razor and just trim this off and save the scraps, put them over there, cut them up small, and use them for smoker fuel. But it's pretty tight, and like I said, I think this is just enough to hold some shavings to make a quilt board. These, I don't know, 12 inches. These are, I don't know, 14, 15 inches, something like that. I do have a tape measure here. 15 inches. So you might be able to get away with something smaller. If your corners aren't tight, just throw a staple in there. Like I said, it's not a whole lot of stress on it. And then I have a tendency to use cedar chips. It's not my favorite smoke, but I'll recycle those in the spring. So that's how you make a quilt board. So this is the finished product. Pretty sturdy. Like I said, I had some corners that aren't perfect, so I just shot some staples up in it. But it should last a year or so. Inexpensive way. I mean, I've seen the ones that are that have the mesh, 15, 20 bucks. That's cool if you got 1 or 2 hives, but if you got a bunch, it could be very pricey. So these are shims I had. I don't know, collected them over the years. Those over there, I made out of cheap stuff. They're not 100% square, but usually they go on the top, and for the winter I usually ratchet mine down so they'll tighten up. And if there's any seams I see in October, I'll use painter's tape and just seal up the spaces there, just keep wind out of it, and bees will propolis it. So just trying to make their home good for the winter. So quilt boards.